Good afternoon once again. I think we'll get started with our program, but please continue to enjoy your lunch. Today, we are recognizing 6 outstanding leaders whose mentorship, integrity, and wise governance have taken their organizations to the next level. We are here to honor those who have served board members throughout our state, contributing their time, their energy, their expertise so that corporations, governments, and nonprofits can benefit from the talents they've employed throughout their careers. The directors being honored today come from public and private companies, nonprofit, and not-for-profit boards. During today's program, we're going to have the opportunity to hear from 6 individuals who serve on some of our state's most prestigious boards, providing fiduciary oversight and guiding them toward long-term success. On behalf of NACD Utah and Utah Business, I would like to thank the sponsors of this year's awards luncheon: Digital Bytes Production and Design, Intermountain Healthcare, Merit Medical, Webb, the Larry H. Miller Group of Companies, Love Communications, MedOne Group, O.C. Tanner, and Pelion Ventures Partners. We greatly appreciate your support of this event and simply could not have done it without you. The National Association of Corporate Directors, or NACD, is the recognized authority for elevating board performance. With more than 21,000 members, world-class boards and individuals join NACD to improve performance, gain insights, and instill confidence. It has been setting the standard for responsible board leadership for more than 40 years through its system of chapters throughout the United States. The Utah chapter of NACD provides cutting-edge education and groundbreaking research in an ever-growing network of directors. I'm pleased to introduce the president of NACD Utah, Deborah Bale. Deborah has served Utah for 40 years as a professional in the nonprofit sector, with more than 20 years in the CEO position. She has served on more than 20 boards, including public, private, and nonprofit boards, providing expertise in governance, strategic planning, change management, board development, and administration. She also has her own consulting business, where she works with clients in the areas of professional development, organizational management, and change strategy. Deborah currently serves on a public company board, 2 nonprofit boards, a university advisory board, and as a foundation trustee. She also serves as chair of a scholarship program established in her name to provide 4-year college scholarships to at-risk students. Please welcome Deborah Bale.
Thank you so much, Carol. It is great to be here with all of you today to celebrate our outstanding directors. It has felt so good to see friends and colleagues in person that I have only seen on Zoom for more than a year. And I know we also have quite a few people joining us virtually today, so hi to everybody out there. I'm delighted to be able to represent the Utah chapter of NACD. NACD is proud to partner with Utah Business to recognize some of our area's most accomplished corporate directors. I think we have an especially strong group of honorees this year. As Carol mentioned in the introduction, NACD is the U.S.'s leading authority for improving board performance, with more than 21,000 members. And NACD has been setting the standard for responsible board leadership for more than 40 years now. The Utah chapter is one of 22 chapters across the country. We were first organized in 2003. Our chapter's mission is to elevate board performance by providing local board members with the practical tools that they need through world-class education, leading-edge research, and a growing network of peers in the director community. The job of a board member is to look out for the best interests of the corporation, whether it be a public, a private, or a nonprofit corporation, and to represent the owners and stakeholders. The job of boards has taken on a greater significance and a more important role in recent years. Boards are at the forefront in today's business climate, which places much greater emphasis on accountability, whether it's in the creation of a sustainable long-term direction for the organization, effective succession planning, shareholder activism, or mergers and acquisitions. In addition to the board's traditional responsibilities, today's boards are being held accountable for many environmental, social, and governance issues. Equity, diversity, and inclusion in the boardroom is one of the most important issues facing boards today. Although boards make leadership decisions based on what is in the collective best interests of the corporation, the lifeblood of board excellence is the individual. The individual director's personal integrity, capabilities, intellectual curiosity, emotional intelligence, and ability to contribute in a collaborative and constructive way is what makes good boards great. In today's business environment, ideal directors are smart, savvy, and experienced. They are top-tier leaders who understand the critical role that they play and are willing to make tough decisions. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the members of our NACD Utah board who are here with us today. They are strong business leaders who have all the qualities of excellent directors. Please stand as I read your name, and I can't see, so I'm gonna have to trust that you're standing up. Robert Gross, Val Ovison, Rocio Summers, James Livingston, Ron Pullman, David Jolly, Lynn Ward, Spence Houle, and Amanda Covington, who is attending virtually. A big thank you to our partner, Utah Business Magazine. Yeah, let's thank those board members. As well as the other sponsors of today's event. A special shout out to Rocio Summers, who is the co-chair of our program committee, Utah Business's Lynette Cloward, and NACD's executive director, Heather May, for all of their hard work in making today's luncheon happen. As I said in the beginning, we have an amazing group of honorees this year. I'm proud to say that I know almost all of them personally and have admired them for many years. They represent the highest ideals in business and in board performance. They have all worked hard to enrich their businesses, the boards they represent, and our community as a whole. Our 2021 outstanding directors are Corinne Clark, Randy Emery, Tom Love, Gail Miller, Harris Simmons, and Scott Anderson. At this time, I'd like to invite Robert Gross, the chair of our NACD Utah chapter board, to join me on stage to help present the awards to our recipients. Thanks to everybody for being here today, and let's get on with the show. Thank you.
We're now pleased to move forward with the recognition part of today's program, where we will learn a little bit more about each of our honorees. Our first honoree, what we would like to recognize this afternoon, is an honoree in the private company category. Please turn your attention now to the video screens.
So I started with a volunteer board And because I really wanted to have that in my experience to be a board member, I always thought it was like really cool to be a member of the board. After being on some volunteer boards, then you meet people and they're like, hey, we need someone to be on this board. And I also would work with CEOs to say, hey, if you're ever looking for a board member. And so I made it kind of a project to just start working toward. I love being a board member. I love working with CEOs and executive teams. It's kind of like being a grandma. Like, they're going to run the company. You want them to run the company, but you get to be there for all the great things. You get to be there when it's tough, and you get to be with some pretty cool people. I would love to be on the Apple board. It's never going to happen. But the 5th largest company on the planet, who I've given quite a bit of my own money to, I might add, they have $200 billion in cash reserves. Like, that would be fun. And their market cap is like $2 trillion. So it's never going to happen, but a girl can dream. You know, the problems you're solving are tough, but when you can see your fingerprints on the success, and it's really that you want the team to run the company. The board doesn't run the company. You want the CEO and the management team to run the company. But when you see someone that they hired that you recommended, or you see a partnership that you kind of knocked on a door, like, that's very fulfilling for me. And no one knows it but you, right? Because I already know I'm going to die. So I want to leave a legacy of talent that works beautifully without me. And by working on these boards, I get to do that.
We would like to now give a warm welcome to the founder and CEO of Domo, Josh James.
Hello. It's a real pleasure to be here. So I guess Carol announced that we're going private. So that's good. We're actually, I think you said private, we're public, but it's not a bad idea. We could explore it, you know, take it private, go public again, flip it, get some more equity. I don't know, there's probably something there we can do. But I, first of all, love Corrine. Love that video of her. We've got a lot of work to do now that I know she's so disappointed in her cash balance compared to Apple. But let me say a few words about Corrine. So it's interesting to see that she said at some point she wanted to go get on public company boards. I mean, she was CMO of Symantec, you know, one of the most important tech companies certainly at that point in time. And so I was always in awe of that. And I started watching her and would watch what she would do here in our community. And one thing I noticed, anytime anyone called her, she's like, yeah, I'm in. And you know, as we try to figure out diversity, inclusion, those sorts of things, I'd ask her questions sometimes. And the one thing I love about Corrine is she always starts from a place of believing in the person that she's talking to. She starts from a place believing the person she's talking to has a good heart, is in a good place, is trying to do the right thing. And I've always really appreciated about Corrine. When I started formally interviewing her and talking to her about some of our history, some of the hard things that we've been through, she said something that kind of blew me away because I heard John Huntsman described once as iron fist in a velvet glove. That is definitely Corrine. I just didn't know about the iron fist part. And I was talking to her, and she said to me, I was talking about some of the challenges that we've had and some of the hard things that maybe in front of us. She's like, Josh, our family motto is courage over comfort. She's like, I'm the daughter of 4-star brigade general. Like, don't worry about it. Let's go to work. I'm like, okay, that's intimidating, but okay. And the other thing that I've really appreciated about Corrine since she's been on our board, like, she was an amazing executive. She was an amazing CEO. She's done amazing things in her career. She's an even better board member. I mean, she's exceeded my expectations dramatically, and I had high expectations. But it's been really fun to see even the board dynamics. You know, she's like E.F. Hutton. There's enough people in here that are my age and older that will get the reference. But when she speaks up at the board, everyone listens because her insight is always right on. And I got feedback from some of my executives before I came up here, and one of the pieces of feedback that I got from one of the execs that's in all the board members, all caps, every time she asks a question or makes a comment, she's right on. Her perceptions are right on. And so that tells you a little bit about that experience that she has and how it's come into play for us. And then the last thing I'd say is the thing that I really appreciate about her, and I'm sure everyone here that has board members or is on other boards of them appreciates this when you see it, she brings a human element and remembers that we work with humans, remembers that our employees are people. And when we're looking at a spreadsheet about what looks good, there's always the question about the impact to the people. When something bad happens to one of our employees, she's the first one there saying, how is everyone being affected by this? And it's such an important role for me as CEO, but to have someone reminding me of that and leading out on that has been such a great comfort, and it's real leadership that I certainly appreciate. So with that, please let's welcome to the stage our honoree, Corinne Clark.
I'm humbled and overwhelmed to be here because truly my mother wanted me to be a hairdresser, so the fact that I can't do a wash and set, but she might like this award. Thank you, Josh. I love being on the Domo board for a number of reasons. One, there's Josh, how many founders and CEOs have taken two companies public, created these two massive unicorns who've created thousands of jobs and billions of dollars for the state of Utah, have changed the lives of a ton of families. But Josh is also committed to diversity and inclusion. Do you know that he's one of the few tech CEOs who has 50% women on his board? It's unheard of. And so truly, so thank you, Josh, for leading out. I also want to thank Blake Marzinski and the Pelion Venture Partner team who's here today. Thank you for coming. But Blake has built the largest venture capital firm in the state of Utah. Most people don't know that because they work really hard to look like they're a lot smaller than they are. But with more than $1 billion, $1.4 billion under management, half the seed money in the state comes from this firm. But what I love about this firm, other than the team, is that Blake puts young people on boards with a partner so that they can learn how to be good board members. So he's got a farm league of people who are very diverse, who will be the future of boards, and this state will benefit from that. My husband and son are here. I have to say that I can't do anything that I do without being able to be supported by their strong backs, because every time I say, I got another board, and they're like, sweetheart, we're warm in your shadow. And not everybody has that, so I recognize that. And any party that I get to go to where Gail Miller and Scott Anderson are being recognized, I love just being on that list. So I'm so honored to be here. Let's work harder to get diverse boards built over time, because it's not a gender issue, it's not a diversity issue, it's a business issue. And that companies will be better, and this state will grow faster if we really drive for diverse boards. So thank you.
A very dear friend of mine, 35 plus years ago, suggested very strongly to me, you need to develop a career on corporate boards because you'll find it to be the best part-time job in retirement. So this process really sort of started methodically 30 plus years ago. And now I can be retired from my job, but I still get to have this intellectual stimulation and association with really some successful people around the table at the boardrooms as well as within the corporations that you serve. So it's great. It's the best of all worlds. You know, if you pay close attention, you learn from those around the table and their experiences, and you pay attention and try and take those to heart. So you're sort of, in some respects, on the sidelines. Sometimes you're intimately involved in different types of transactions, whether that be acquisitions or divestitures of a company or major expansion plans. And you get a chance to see what has worked and what didn't work for others. So I think the greatest takeaway I've gotten is the knowledge that I've learned from others and what they've shared from their experiences. These companies appreciate you. I mean, they tell you that they appreciate what you're doing and that you're giving the time to them. They learn from you a little bit. It's incredibly rewarding to learn from them. And the takeaways I can take from one board and take on my career. So it's a very rewarding experience.
Please welcome to the stage now Med1 Group President and CEO Larry Stevens and Senior Executive VP and Vice Chairman of the Board of Directors, Brent Allen.
I am very honored to introduce Randy Emery. One of the things you need to know about Randy Emery is he loves to golf. And the first time I ever golfed with Randy, he was explaining or was showing me, bragging about this special golf ball that he had. He says, "This is the most amazing ball." He says, "I can't lose it." He says, "It goes into the water and it floats." He says it goes into the rough and it's got a GPS and I just go right to it. He says it gets dark and illuminates. He says it's incredible. I just can't lose this ball. And I said, "Where in the world did you find it? How did you ever get that ball?" And he says, "I found it." When Randy became a part of our board, we soon realized that we had found a gem. I first met Randy 41 years ago. His work ethic was second to none. One of the characteristics, one of the things that defines Randy is his work ethics. Everything he did and everything he said was based upon the principle of integrity, another element that defines Randy, integrity. He was positive. He was always smiling, always happy. And from the day I met him, he became one of my mentors. And to this very day, Randy remains one of my mentors. I guess he's a mentor because he belongs to the Able family. He is capable, a word that ends in A-B-L-E. Everything we do, he's smart. He has a business sense. He has a financial background. He is very, very capable. He is very available, another word that ends in A-B-L-E. Anytime we have a meeting, he is always there, no questions asked. He is available, and he is also accountable, a word that ends in A-B-L-E. Randy walks the talk. If he says he's going to do something, he does it. And I'm very proud to have Randy serve as on the board of Med1, and I am very proud to be able to introduce him to you today. Thank you very much.
As a private company, we aren't forced to have a board of directors. We chose to do it for a lot of reasons, mainly to make sure we are providing sound corporate governance for our company. and to help prepare the next generation of leaders who will take over the company. When we were recruiting, Randy, we both knew Randy, and he filled the bill because he seemed to exemplify every one of the qualities that Carol mentioned as an appropriate quality for a director. Randy has an innate ability to ask very irritating questions. And sometimes it causes us introspection and causes us to really rethink our position. And so, as irritating as they are, they're very helpful. Randy always shows up prepared, always shows up with knowledge of the subject, and has been very instrumental in helping our company to address some of the things that were undone when we started. We told our directors when we recruited them and when we started 6 years ago that they weren't there to rescue the company, and they weren't there to sell us. And in the first little while, that kind of frustrated all of them because they were looking for their role. But as they have settled into their role, and their role is to, as Brent mentioned, mentor us and to provide a controlling, governing authority for our company and to prepare our next generation of leaders, they settled into that role very well, and Randy has been among the leadership of our board to have embraced that. So we're thrilled that he is receiving this honor. It's well deserved, and we so appreciate him. Randy, please come up.
Wow, what an honor. Brent, Larry, thanks for such a kind introduction. It means a lot for me to be here. It really is quite an honor, as Corrine said, to receive such an award like this and to be included with the likes of such impressive and accomplished individuals as Gail Miller, Harris Simmons, Scott Anderson, Corrine Clark, and my old friend Tom Love. Congratulations to all of you, and thanks for letting me have a little bit of the spotlight today. When Bob Gross called me to inform me that I had, advised me that Brent Allen and Larry Stevens were going to nominate me for Director of the Year of Private Companies, I sort of focused on that word nominate. Went home thinking, well, I don't need to worry about having to be up here today. There's obviously a lot more talented people out there than me sitting on private boards. But here I am, and it's quite a surprise and quite something for me to take in. So very pleased of that. As mentioned in the video, 30 years ago, a good friend and mentor, James Lobecky, suggested to me that it would be a good idea to start sitting on nonprofit, civic, community boards, corporate boards, and develop a resume of board experience. He said that it was going to be not only an interesting experience for me, but an education as well as an opportunity to give back. So with that, a second career began. And I had the fortunate opportunity to be part of a lot of different boards over the last 30-plus years, some legal, educational, civic, public, trade association, and private boards. And like all of you, as a result, I've had many great experiences along with an in-depth, firsthand education in many business, government, and community issues. While I hope I have made a material contribution to each, I know I've received an amazing education in the process thanks to the companies and the vast knowledge of those around the table, both other board members and management committee members. I've had a chance to be involved in mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, complex legal, and organizational challenges over the years, all learning experiences. These are all things that add to our building blocks of our collective knowledge that we can utilize and pass on to others along the way. One of the more interesting experiences that really kickstart my career in board work was when I was invited to sit on the newly formed Workforce Services and Workforce Investment Board for Governor Leavitt. I learned a lot in that experience at the tutelage of folks like Bob Gross, Louis Conanellis, and many others. I was even fortunate enough to be chairman of that board. So it was a great opportunity for me, and it sort of kick-started things going future in board work. So when years later, Bob re-endorsed me to some old friends, Brent Allen and Larry Stevens, founders of Med1, who were forming a new board for their private company, I was excited to catch up with them and learn more about what they had been up to in the intervening 40 years since we had briefly worked together. It's now been, as Larry said, almost 6 years since our board was formed, of which I was very flattered and very honored to become a part of. And once again, I hope I've made a valuable contribution, but I know I received a great education in the process from those at the table. Part of the best part of being on a board is what you get out of all those others that you're fortunate enough to associate with. So at Med1, I've learned a number of things in particular about this company that I want to share with you. I've learned just how in a very successful company, the profits do not have to be about the riches of owners, but about the perpetuation of a business to be a legacy company for future generations of employees. I've learned how much two owners value, respect, and care about every single employee in the company as though they were family. I have learned how culture, the light shines a little differently here. I have learned about how culture, employees, and relationships are more important and valuable than just the economics. But most importantly, I've learned just how unselfish and sharing two owners can really be in a very successful business. Brent, Larry, thank you for letting me be a part of your family. This award means a great deal to me. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
One thing that's really important to me personally at Love Communications is that all of our employees take time to volunteer. It's not a requirement, but it's a pretty strong suggestion that we want employees to find a passion, whether it's animals, whether it's nonprofit, whether it's homelessness, whether it's arts and culture, whatever. There is so much need for smart people and good service in our community that we want people, we pay people to take time off and to serve their community, because that enhances life for everybody and truly does make Utah probably the best place to live on the planet. It's part of everything we believe in. I don't know that if you're ever really fully prepared until you get engaged. You find the other people that are there, you identify what the needs are, and then what in your background and experience you can bring to add to the organization, whether it's other people you know, or donors and fundraising, or communications expertise, whatever it is, everybody has a specialty or something in their background that they can contribute to an organization. But I think first it's important to spend a year with the organization, get a feel for it, get its cadence, and identify where the opportunities are. And almost to a person on big boards and small boards, everybody will go, I have an idea and how I can help. Arts and culture boards, to me, feed part of an inner soul that's different from business. And I really enjoy the arts and culture in Utah. We are a rich arts and cultural community. And so I love serving on the boards that I'm serving on for that reason. I don't have a desire to serve on any others but those.
Please welcome now Stephen Broswick, President and CEO of Utah Symphony, Utah Opera, to the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. As President and CEO of the Utah Symphony, Utah Opera, and the Deer Valley Music Festival, it is my privilege to introduce Tom Love, President and founding partner of Love Communications. I could use many words to describe Tom: adventurer, eternal optimist, realist when he needs to be, creator, convener, sage, therapist, partner. All of these terms are correct, but none of them really quite suffice. I met Tom a year ago during my interviews for the USUO. Tom has been on our board for 12 years and is currently serving as our board chair. That's the way that I know him best, and it's the way that I will introduce him to you today through the work that we've been doing together. I arrived in Utah in the middle of the pandemic. I was coming to join the largest performing arts organization in the Intermountain West, one that performs 175 orchestra concert and opera performances each season. We're one of only 15 full-time orchestras, professional orchestras in the country, and we serve 400,000 people a year, including 150,000 students statewide each season. I was coming to an organization that relies on performances in enclosed spaces with large audiences when sensible guidance was telling all of us that we shouldn't be gathering together. All the while, Tom Love, along with Pat Richards, Kim Gardner, Kim Wilson, and several other people sitting in this room were calmly working to support a path of continued service to our community. And with their help, we found that path. Tom's optimistic leadership has been essential in buoying the entrepreneurial spirit of this organization that was necessary to keep everyone being flexible and eager to move forward when probably conventional wisdom would have told us that it would have been much easier to retreat and just wait the pandemic out. Tom knows that bringing people together for a performance is, yes, about incredible performance of great music, but more importantly, it's about what happens when we experience that music together. It's about the ability through music to share respite, solace, hope, excitement, and joy. Tom knows that studying music helps unlock children's creative thinking and academic achievement, and for some, literally changes their lives. Tom knows all of this, and while he is continually being an advocate for this work, he never, ever makes it about himself. He is always focused on what is the right thing and what will benefit this community. But Tom's work with us is only one facet of the work that he does for Utah. Tom has served for 18 years on the United Way Board, including 3 terms as chairman. He served 5 years on the College of Fine Arts Advisory Board at the University of Utah, including 1 year as chair. He served on President Ruth Watkins' Imagine New Heights $2 billion development campaign for the University of Utah. He served on the boards of the Alta Club, the Cottonwood Country Club, Pioneer Theater Company, and as president of the Utah Advertising Federation. If you've ever been in a board meeting with Tom, you know that nobody runs a board meeting like Tom Love does. He's fabulous to the nth degree. He has a heart the size of this state. He's somebody that I admire immensely and am proud to call my friend. Everyone, please welcome Tom Love.
Wow, I am so glad I could not see any faces out there and the lights are so bright, because that would be really hard. I gotta tell you, this is my first big super spreader event in 16 months. I haven't been in a room with this many people since last March, and I'll be honest, I had anxiety about it this morning. I was like, we're gonna mingle in closed spaces and do that and have lunch, and yes, we are. And you know what? I am energized by it now. It's been fabulous. It is so great to see so many people and for all of us to come out of this thing alive and for the better. And it's so good to see so many. I have so many friends in this room. All I can do is say thanks to an enormous number of people, and I hope I don't leave anybody out, and please forgive me if I do. But first of all, a great big thanks to Mr. Steve Broswick. the new CEO of Utah Symphony and Utah Opera. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. My good friend Deborah Bale, who nominated me. I was on Deb's board for 18 years and 3 as board chair at very critical times when we were transforming the work that we were doing for United Way. And what an honor. I mean, I am really, really humbled to be in the company. And I know Corrine said this and Randy said this, but to be in the company of my friends Scott Anderson and Gail Miller and Randy Emery and Harris Simmons, and to meet you, Corrine, I mean, really, really impressive people. I followed Scott Anderson as board chair of United Way. And when Deborah Bale said, we want you to be chair, and I was following Scott Anderson, I was scared to death. I mean, Scott Anderson, and I'm going to be board chair to following Scott, and then I had to follow Kem Gardner as chair of the Symphony and Opera Board. These are 2 giants in our city. I was intimidated. I mean, I'm the midget in the city, and I'm following these 2 guys on these boards. It was really, really intimidating. But you know what? We work hard. We have good people. Everybody has something to offer on a board. And I was committed to the missions of both of those. I want to thank everybody that served on those boards with me. And Steve covered a resume of boards that I'd even forgotten that I had served on. But Pioneer Theater and the College of Fine Arts at the University of Utah, currently Utah Symphony, Utah Opera, we have 40 board members. And those 18 years at United Way, what incredible, incredible people that did great work. Not only is board service important in the community and what we do, but it's fun, and it should be rewarding. It's some of the highlights of my career, to be outside of the office and the work that we do every day and do different work with different energy and different focuses and meeting different people. 2 personal highlights of my life are when I was board chair and working with Deborah and Bill Krim and all the United Way team, we created only the 2nd social impact bond in America that funded high-quality pre-K for thousands of kids in the state of Utah that now has gone on. We've changed the lives and the trajectory, the educational trajectory of thousands of kids in Utah by funding high-quality pre-K and getting the legislature's attention, creating a bill, funding it, and hopefully it becomes completely universal. That's a highlight of my life and a proud moment. I know we have had an impact on lives. The other one, following Kem Gardner as chair of the Symphony and Opera Board in September of 2019, the first thing we had to do was start to look for a new CEO and start a search. We started that in November of 2019. My friend Kim Wilson graciously served on that committee for us and was key and integral to it. Then COVID hit, of course, and we all had to look at ourselves and say, can we continue a national search for a CEO in the Symphony and Opera? And we said, yes, we can. If they're willing to talk to us, we want to talk to them. We ultimately narrowed down on Steve Broswick as our #1 choice and flew he and his lovely wife, Cassandra, out here to Salt Lake City for a visit in June of 2020. And we had a private tour of Abravanel Hall, a private tour of Kim and Gail's home, personal calls with Senator Mitt Romney and Congressman Ben McAdams, and we pulled out up at the Ruth Watkins at the U and Red Butte Gardens. Every major person in our community rolled out the red carpet for Steve and Cassandra, and he wisely said, yes, I'll take the job. And he started in August during the pandemic. I am proud to say that because of our board, our donors, our sponsors, our ticket patrons, the legislature, and CARES Act, that we were back performing. We had to cancel performances in April, May, and the summer. We were back performing as a full orchestra in September. We were one of 4 in America that performed the entire year, the entire season. Not only were we performing in front of small, limited audiences at Abravanel Hall, but we started a new streaming service. We now have thousands of fans across the globe in over 100 countries, and we kept our commitment to teaching K-12 education to students across the state of Utah, and that is a really proud moment. We couldn't have done it without Steve's leadership or commitment of the board. So thanks to my friends at Love Communications, my lovely wife, Jamie, who is here. I couldn't have done any of this without her. And again, we want everyone at Love Communications to serve on a board, to volunteer their time. It's a major priority for us. We have to make our community a better place, and everybody has a role to play. I'm honored and humbled beyond belief. Thank you very much.
Probably nothing prepared me to be a director. I did not ever work until after my husband passed away. So all of my experience came through being a housewife and a mother, learning how to run a household, how to manage the funds, how to discipline children, how to facilitate anger management, development of talents, collaboration. I think all of those things have come in handy as I've moved into the corporate world. If I were to say what I would like people to know about the work of a board director is that it's really serious business. It's something that makes a difference in the future of your company. In my case, that was the whole reason of creating a board and working on a board, was to create continuity between the generation that's running our company now and the generation that will be running it in several years. And so to have a board that can learn our business and move with us through the generations to help facilitate that continuity, transition, succession. And then, of course, it's the financial responsibility that a board has, the fiduciary responsibility to maintain the healthiness of the company. What I enjoy most about being a director is the variety of information that comes across your table, across the board, the exciting things that companies get to do, getting to know the people that have so many different talents and contributions to the company. It's a very fascinating, important job being a director, so I like all of it.
Please welcome now to the stage Dr. Mark Harrison, President and CEO of Intermountain Healthcare.
Great. Well, Tom, you stole my super spreader jokes. I don't know where I'm going to start now. Hey, I am a super lucky guy. My two board chairs since I've started here at Intermountain are getting honored tonight. And Scott, congratulations to you as well. So, Gail, I've got to call you out. You're an absolute sandbagger. You are 100,000% ready to be Intermountain Healthcare's board chair. And I will say, for one, I've been a beneficiary of your skill around discipline. And you run a great meeting and you run a great organization. I sometimes worry that you got more than you bargained for. So here you joined us. Intermountain goes through massive transformation to be prepared for a future in an industry that is critical to our economy and more importantly critical to the health of our neighbors. And you got to lead us through that. So value-based care, population health, growth, etc. And then on top of that, the pandemic. And here we are, along with others, at the absolute tip of the spear. Economic meltdown, unemployment like we've never seen it. A company, an organization that had very hard decisions to make around potentially losing hundreds of millions of dollars or sacrificing jobs. And I, for one, was not the least bit surprised, but very proud that you and the rest of our governance said, people, people, people. That's what we do at Intermountain. And I will remind all of you that the role of governance, and you heard it once already tonight, is to represent the owners of the company. Well, that's all of you. That's all of our neighbors. And I think Gail has done that absolutely magnificently. So what do we get when we work with Gail Miller? We get guidance, we get wisdom, we get authenticity, we get kindness, but firmness at the same time, and we get a person who is extraordinarily clear-eyed about what we need now in the present and also what we need in the future. Not so long ago at a board meeting, we were having a difficult conversation, a really rich conversation about some decisions that we had to make, and we knew that no matter what we decided, some people would be unhappy. Well, Gail gave us great advice. She said her mother always said, if you can't make everybody happy, make yourself happy and have some fun in the meantime. Great advice, and in fact, that's exactly what we've done. So I've told you some things that you probably could have known or intuited about Gail, her many great qualities as a leader, her wisdom. But I also tell you one other thing. Gail said to me not so long after she started as board chair, she said, you know, one of the things I like the most about Intermountain Healthcare is, and I said, what, Gail? She said, I love the clam chowder down at Intermountain Medical Center. So Gail, Katrina has a bag of clam chowder. It's packed in ice for you and Kim, so no one needs to make dinner tonight. You're all taken care of and ready to go. And by the way, I do recommend the cafeteria at Intermountain Medical Center for any of you if you are looking for a nice place to go on a date. So Gail, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know, you did have this trifecta of the pandemic, extraordinary social unrest, and a CEO who ended up in a bone marrow transplant unit with an uncertain future. And your steadiness, strength, kindness was an inspiration to all of us, but maybe most especially to me. So my pleasure to welcome my mentor and my friend, Gail Miller, to the stage.
Wow, I too am grateful I can't see you. And I too, Tom, am amazed that I got to follow Scott Anderson as the chair of the Intermountain Board. When he asked me, I said, what? But I have enjoyed this experience. It's been great. I want to tell you a little story about the clam chowder. We did go to Cottonwood for dates quite often on Friday because that's the only time they served clam chowder. And it was one of Larry's favorites, and he kept pestering Earl, the chef, to get the recipe for it. And it was proprietary to Cottonwood, and he said, no way, I can't give you the recipe. But Larry persisted, and one day, Earl said, if you'll come down in the kitchen, I'll get you the recipe. So Larry got the recipe, but it made 13 gallons. So he took it home and pared it down. And I now have a recipe for 1 gallon, which is really good, and we serve it at Christmas time. I am grateful and humbled at this opportunity to be honored as the chair of Intermountain. What a great organization. I cannot think of a better place to have this opportunity. The people on our board are top-notch people, and very engaged, very helpful, and very supportive. And I thank all of you for what you do to make my job as chair easier. As I thought about being honored today, I kept thinking, which one of these things is not like the other? And I think it's me, but I am, again, humbled to be included in the group that are being honored today. As I stepped out of my role as wife and mother into the corporate world, I kept wondering, how is this going to be, and how am I going to be able to do this? But I kept reminding myself of two little words that I used all of my life, and they are, I can. I can learn. I can have courage. I can serve. I can be a representative of Intermountain. I can be a representative of my own company. I can use my stewardship in ways that bring about good. I can teach the things that I know. I can encourage others to be their best. I can discover all kinds of things that are beneficial to mankind. I can develop my talents. I can help wherever I'm needed. I can have vision if I look clearly at what's ahead of me. I can be inclusive, and I can be kind. I can be a mentor to women, one of the unexpected benefits of being in the corporate world as a woman. And I can be inclusive. I am so grateful for the opportunity to work with Intermountain and to learn about the qualities of the people who bring their talents every day to serve the people of this community and help everyone live their healthiest life possible. So thank you, Mark, thank you, Intermountain, and thank you, NACD, and I appreciate all those who support me.
I've really deeply enjoyed the associations I've made over the years in various organizations serving on boards. And it's certainly interesting learning about, a business or an organization and feeling like maybe you're able to contribute to their becoming stronger and more effective. But certainly it's the association with other people that is the highlight. A good friend who was a longtime member of our board of directors who once told me, he said, everything's been said, but not everyone has yet had an opportunity to say it. And it was a reminder that sometimes it's best to let others be the voice, and you don't have to repeat everything that's been said. So listening is something I think we all need to learn. I've had the experience of being on boards with some really talented people. I guess it's made me very observant of how effective people in other businesses think about business. They think long term. They think very strategically, and I'd like to think that some of that may have rubbed off. It's really a great experience to be in a room full of people who are thinking about how you use the resources of an organization to do something better and bigger and make a bigger impact in the world.
Please welcome now to the stage Dr. Dave Woolston Hume, the Commissioner of Utah Higher Education.
It's an honor to be here with you today, and it's a true honor to be able to introduce Harris Simmons. Harris wish he was able to be here with us today, but he's not, but he will be able to share a few messages with you on a video as soon as I get done. I've had the great privilege to get to know Harris the last couple of years since serving in the role of Commissioner of the Utah System of Higher Education, and what a great honor it's been. Harris called me a couple years ago and asked if he could come visit about the opportunity for me to fill the role of commissioner. He drove to Logan, we sat down, we had a conversation, and Harris had halfway convinced me that this would be a great opportunity. But I had a lot of reservations. I had a lot of questions that still needed to be answered. We got to the point where then Harris said something to the fact that, I've been on the board for 8 years. It's probably time for me to transition off. And I said, no. If I'm going to commit to you, you're going to commit to me. And as much as Harris had on his plate, and as much as he would have liked to get off the board, he committed to stay there to help with the transition and to move things forward. And that's just the kind of service that Harris provides, to make sure that things are done right, to make sure that things are in a working fashion. The other thing that was really instrumental during this time is, many of you probably know, that we pulled both the technical colleges and the degree granting institutions, so you have 8 institutions on each side together. And in the past, it's somewhat unfortunate that they somewhat competed one against another, and this was not going to be a small task that the legislature and the governor and others wanted to do, to bring these two boards together and these two organizations together. But I can tell you, without the great integrity, the great service, the great mentorship that Harris was able to provide for many, that would have been a much more difficult task than it was. And so Harris definitely has a an act and a will to be able to get people to cooperate, get people to work together for the betterment of the whole. I asked Harris why he served on so many boards, why he allows me to call him at 10 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock in the morning when I have a question as my board chair. And the response was quite interesting to me. He says, because I love Utah. I love the fact that we live in such a great state, and to be able to serve and to give back is what I want to do. Life has blessed me in so many different ways. He felt like it was his responsibility to give back to the others of the state of Utah. The other thing that's been really interesting to me over the last couple of years where the State Board of Higher Education is really focused on diversity and inclusion, we have opportunity for all students, regardless of their background, to be able to have an opportunity to receive higher education, whether that's a certificate or whatever it is they want to pursue. Harris has had a steady hand at the table to make sure that we implement diversity and inclusion in every aspect that we do. We've reviewed every policy, we've reviewed everything that we possibly do at each of our institutions to make sure that happens. And I really respect that, and I really appreciate the many efforts that Harris and other board members have done in that area. I've got a list of boards that Harris serves on that we could be here until about game time tonight when the Jazz tip off, but I'm not going to do that to you. But I can tell you that there's a list of amazing boards that Harris has had the opportunity to serve on and still serves on, and I really don't understand how he has that many hours in the day to do it. So with that said, I very much appreciate the mentorship of Harris, and with that, we'll turn your attention to the video screen for Harris's prepared remarks.
I really want to thank Dave Woolston for those kind words. It's been a great privilege to work with Dave in his capacity as our Commissioner for Higher Education here in the state of Utah for the last few years. And we're really fortunate to have such an amazing public servant representing all of us in creating a great higher education system in the state of Utah. I'm very sorry that I can't be there in person today. As has been mentioned, I had a long-standing prior commitment that keeps me from being able to be there in person. But I want to thank the NACD Utah chapter for this great honor. It's really a tremendous honor to be in the same company with my fellow honorees here today, each of whom do so much for the state of Utah and for so many great organizations that we have here. As I have thought about the experiences I've had in serving on a variety of boards, both here in Utah and beyond, over about the last 4 decades, it's made me realize that I've learned a great deal from some truly extraordinary people who've been fellow board members in a variety of different kinds of organizations. And the things I've learned from them have made me better in so many ways. And I want to thank everyone who serves on boards, especially those who serve on nonprofit boards, who give their time and their efforts to make these organizations who need this kind of input and help from all of us and make them better organizations. These are wonderful people who serve on these boards, and I thank them for what they've done to make me a better board member and a better leader in my own organization. So my thanks again. Thanks to NACD and to each of you. I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but I'm deeply honored to be accepting this award.
The most rewarding thing for me of being a director is to meet with interesting and talented people, other directors, and to hear their view on business, on the company, and on politics. And then to see the company and hear reports from management, how they are moving forward to create value for customers and for the community and for shareholders. To me, that's fascinating, it's rewarding, and I benefit a lot from it. Boards have changed over time. They have become more diverse, which is a good thing. They have become more inclusive, which again is a really good thing. And while they're focusing on profitability, they are also focusing on doing the right thing, the socially positive impact that it can have on the community. And I think it's interesting that boards are now focusing on environmental issues and social impact issues as much as governance issues. Being on a board and interacting with other board members has really impacted my approach to business. Hearing board members talk, seeing presentations by management teams, listening to comments by analysts, they all help educate me on what I can do to improve my performance as a board member, but also a better approach to business. So it's been very valuable.
Please now give a warm welcome to the President and CEO of World Trade Center Utah, Miles Hansen.
It's an honor to introduce a person that really doesn't need an introduction. We all know and love Scott Anderson. Introducing Scott is also a bit of a challenge for several reasons, including the fact that Scott is remarkable at introducing others. I was at an event where he was introducing Governor Gary Herbert, and Scott arranged for a speed painter who paints with his bare hands to stand at the side of the stage, and while Scott introduced Governor Herbert, the speed painter produced a portrait of Gary. And Scott, I'm sorry, I don't know any speed painters, and you're not going to get a portrait out of this introduction today. And I also don't have any clam chowder, so that's 0 for 2. But I do know a few of your friends that know and love you deeply. And so what I did is I sent out an email, and I asked a few of them a simple question. What comes to their mind when they think of Scott Anderson? And here are just a few of the responses. Spencer Cox said these 2 words, endlessly generous. Gail Miller offered these 3 words, genuine, convener, and family man. Harris Simmons put it this way, the phrase that comes to mind is Marvel superhero. I marvel at how much he gets done and how broad his influence is in the community. He is truly a superhero to many organizations where he's made a deep and positive impact. As we saw on the screen right there, Harris is absolutely a superhero as well. And now that I think about it, we've got Corinne and Gail and Tom and the others. It's like we got the whole Utah Avengers here with us today. I can imagine the movie poster now. Susan Swartz called Scott a great inspiration, and Jim Swartz said that Scott is always present. Lou Kramer wrote wise, humble, and visionary. And here's Stuart Adams, big-hearted, kind, reliable. And then he added, if there's an appropriate way to sneak it in, Scott really is Utah's unelected governor. That's right. Byron Russell called Scott our Mr. Rogers and exceptionally enlightened. Derek Miller articulated something that we've all thought on a regular basis. He said that when he is facing a challenging situation, he often asks himself, what would Scott Anderson do? Amanda Covington said that Scott Anderson elevates our community, and Geraldine Dreyfus wrote that Scott is the Prince of Peace and that he holds the key to our city and our hearts. I shot Gary Herbert an email, and he wrote back immediately with one word, clone. And then he explained with all the amazing things that Scott is doing every hour of every day, he must have several clones of himself out around town covering the bases so he can go do these amazing things in our community and all over the place. And going back to Harris, I guess, Scott, that's one of your superhero powers. Aaron Mendenhall observed that Scott is always prepared with the best information. He's well-read, community-minded, and an innovator. And finally, last and definitely least, when I asked myself the same question, the phrase anxiously engaged in a good cause immediately came to mind. Scott Anderson currently sits on 21 boards, including the board of World Trade Center Utah, where he served as the chair for more than 12 years and has done more than anybody in the state to grow and shape that organization. We all know that Scott is a builder of the state, of companies, organizations, communities, and most importantly, individuals. Scott's had a profound impact on my life and the life of my family. And what's most remarkable about him is I know that the same is true for each and every one of us and thousands of others of individuals all across the state and the nation and the rest of the world, that he has served and loved throughout his life and career. And so without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the stage the one and only Scott Anderson.
Thank you very much. I'm also honored to be up here and to be recognized with these other remarkable people. They are my heroes. They are my role models. I look at them and they help me do a better job in the roles that I have. So thanks to each of you. And I want to thank the NACD and Deborah and Bob as well for this honor and for the training that you provide boards of directors in our state to do a better job to keep our businesses and organizations running. I want to thank Miles for the introduction. I am honored to have the invitation to serve on that board, and it does a remarkable job in helping companies expand globally. But as I look over this audience and as I look at the companies that are here and some that I have the honor of serving on their boards, I am really touched, and Utah is really blessed. We have the World Trade Center. We have Merit Medical, one of the great companies of Utah, led by a business genius who is creating jobs and profitability for our economy. And then we have Intermountain that's providing health care, quality health care at an affordable price, led by a CEO that has a vision for the future. And I think the great honor and privilege of serving on a board is to be guided and to be schooled by these CEOs who have so much wisdom and have such a desire to see the company and the organizations grow. In closing, I just want again to thank you. And if our governor can ask us to pray for rain, I think tonight we should pray for the Jazz. We want them to win. And it is so nice to be out doing things again. And as we get to the tail end of this pandemic, we really have to, as the Salt Lake Chamber is saying, and Derek Miller is here today, we have to bring it home. And I hope we can all go out and influence everyone we can to get vaccinated by July 4th. Our governor wants 70% of the state vaccinated. I think we're about 45%, so we have a lot to do in a little short period of time, but it will make a huge difference. So thank you so much.
Our honorees have contributed to making our state a better place for each one of us. As a reminder, your parking is paid for. You should have received a voucher, and if you have not, please get one from the registration desk before you leave. We would also like to gather your name tags so that we can recycle them. You can either leave them on the table or at the registration desk. That concludes our event for today. Thank you for coming, and congratulations once again to the 2021 Outstanding Directors. Thank you.